Today is Tuesday, July 7th, 2026. All praises to the Most High God, Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, forever and ever, so let it be true. Love, honor, and respect to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, and to His Holy Son, Yahweh Shai, who died for the 12 tribes of Israel, Matthew chapter 15, verse 24, Matthew chapter 10, verse 5 and 6. And double honors to the apostles of GMS, to the 4 major prophets, to the 12 minor prophets, and to the hopeful elect, the brothers, the Akim, the saints, the 144,000 who risked their lives day in and day out, bringing out this truth. And shalom, peace and blessings to my brothers, sisters, and children who are watching this video. We're on another lesson. And we're in the time of war. And that's why most of the videos that I do is on prophecies, and I tie it in with the news of what's going on. Okay? There's just so many things going on with fires, with floods, earthquakes, volcanoes. I mean, there's just so many things going on. But World War III is in full effect. All right. They signed that a couple weeks back. They signed that memorandum of understanding, which is just a pause for 60 days. And there hasn't been no pause. There's been back and forth fighting. Okay. But we're going to get into it because within the last 24 hours, Iran hit 3 ships. But we're going to start with over the weekend. They're saying 15 to 20 million Iranians are expected to pack the streets of Tehran for the funeral of Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader, the country's former supreme leader. They're having his funeral over the weekend. I think it's going 5 days. I think it ends up on Thursday. It's a week. It's a week of mourning for their supreme leader. This is their religious prophet in the Middle East. The Ayatollah, okay, in the United States and the Zionists, the Rothschilds, the Herodian dynasty, the so-called Israel over there, because that's not they're in the Holy Land, but those are not the people of the Holy Book. Those are the Amalekites of Esau. Okay, when they made that strike, the United States and Israel on Iran, and they killed the Ayatollah, and they thought they were going to end this within 3 days, and they thought all the people were going to wave American flags. That's all lies from the Western media. Everything that comes out of the Western media is lies. Okay, when I say Western media, I'm talking about France. I'm talking about England. All right. The West, Canada, Australia, Great Britain and America, because America comes out of Great Britain. Okay, they killed their religious leader, and it made the people closer. They came together, and they showed the world. Thanks for the World Wide Web. Because if it wasn't for the World Wide Web, everybody in the United States and the West would be brainwashed by our media, saying that because in the Western newspapers, magazines, and television, they said they came out and said there was hundreds of thousands. No, there was 15 to 20 million. And we're going to get into it. Around 20 million Iranians were expected to pack the streets of Tehran for the funeral of Ali Khamenei, the supreme leader. Characterized as the largest human gathering in history. The largest human gathering in history. No, there's never been a gathering of over 15. They're saying there's reports it was over 20 million people in the streets. And you had the Prime Minister of Israel and Donald Trump thinking to strike the people. All right, they wanted to strike all them people with a missile. All right, but they would have got so much backlash, and there could have been major consequences if they would have did something like that. I mean, because the whole world hates the West right now. The whole world, all the nations. All right, they can't wait to pounce on Israel and the United States. Okay, and like I said, the kings of Europe, they're all there's a big split amongst the kings of Europe. Okay, and who's the kings of Europe? You have Greece, Italy, Portugal, Spain, France, Germany. All right. You have countries in Europe, in NATO, that hate the whore who sits on the beast. All right. Things are unraveling in front of your eyes, but they showed the world this was the largest gathering in the history of the world. There's never been that many people together that showed so much love and loyalty to their religious leader. All right, he was their prophet. Okay. It says it was as the largest human gathering in history. Huge crowds gathered in Tehran and across Iran for the state funeral of the late supreme leader, the Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Deep loyalty among supporters, challenging the perception that the Iranian regime has zero public support. That's what they wanted to, in the Western media, they wanted the world to say these people are savages, there's no order, that they want to be free, they want to wave American flags. It's the opposite. Okay, like I said, everything through the Zionist news, because it's the Rothschilds that own ABC, CBS, Disney, Amazon. That's all ruled by the Rothschild family. Okay, any information you get from the West is based on lies. Okay, so it says signals a failure of Trump's administration attempt to isolate Iran. Western media often downplays the scale and the significance of Iran, the state funerals, to avoid validating the regime's legitimacy. Okay, they want you to think that the people are divided. No, they're not divided. The people are all together. Now, you had here in the United States, when they killed the Ayatollah, you had people here in the United States that were celebrating. Those were a lot of, there's a lot of Amalekites that live in Iran. Those Amalekites are all over the Middle East. Okay, like I told you, who created Hamas and ISIS? You can look this up. Israel, the Zionists, the Rothschild family, the United States, the Mossad, the CIA, they created those monsters. And a lot of those, you have, excuse me. I'm on a video, I'll call you back. You have, sorry about that, brothers and sisters. You have, what was I talking about, the Western media? Lost the train of thought right now. But you have, going back to the media with the Zionists, They want you to think that they're a divided country, and they're not. All right, the Persian people, one of the greatest empires on the face of the earth. Okay. Oh, but going back to those Amalekites, yeah, there's Amalekites here that they're from Iran, and they call themselves Iranians. And oh yeah, going back to Hamas and ISIS. So a lot of those people that you see, you have dark-skinned Israelis that look like Arabs, or some of them are mixed with the Arabs, but they're actually Israelis. Okay, and they have them in those groups. They're wearing their little Muslim, the way they dress down there in the Middle East. Like I said, they created these, and they hire and pay the sellouts to attack, to do this, and like I said, they're behind all these terrorist attacks in the Middle East, and here, and like I said, they're the ones that 9/11. They were behind 9/11. Okay, it had nothing to do with Iraqis. Saddam Hussein had nothing to do with those people. Had nothing to do with Saudi Arabia. They had to pick a boogeyman, which was Osama bin Laden, and they were tied in collusion with the oil, the United States and Saudi Arabia. They've always been together in collusion with the oil industry. Okay. Like I said, the United States, the people here are totally gone, but slowly people are waking up that they're behind all this chaos. All right. Because order comes out of chaos. That's why they're going to bring this. They're going to bring all this chaos to the earth with the war, and that's when they're going to bring out the. They're going to shut down the United States. There's going to be lockdowns. The lockdowns are coming. Those draconian laws, and there's going to be world lockdowns. But this war with Iran, the ancient Persian Empire, there ain't going to be no peace. It's just starting, this war. This is the last war for the United States. There's no going to be no more wars after this. This is it. Okay, so going to the last 24 hours, Iran, de facto Iranian control. Iran maintains total control of the Strait of Hormuz, using it as a powerful deterrent. They're showing the whole world the United States has no power over them in that region of the Persian Gulf. In the Persian Gulf, they have no power over there. We could send all the ships over there, and we're sending hundreds, tens of thousands of Marines and Army Rangers down there. All right, but they're going to be slaughtered, and we're going to get into that today. These servicemen are going to be slaughtered down there. But you think those Rothschilds? You think they care? No, they're going to pick up all these men, these young men, okay? And they're sending them. Now, the other day I was talking about the draft. So when I was getting, looking more up, looking into it, looking into the draft, they said the first wave is 20-year-olds. You know, the 20 to 22, then it goes to 23 to 25, 25 to 28, and then they said around the fifth wave they'll get the 18 and 19 year olds. Because I think the last video I said they'll pick up the 18, 19s on the first, but I guess they wait a little bit. It doesn't matter. They're going to get them all, but there's going to be, you know, every 6 months they're going to have a bracket of men that they're going to be picking up. But they're going to have sheriffs. They're going to have the military knocking door to door, picking up young men. Okay, my father was picked up in Vietnam in the early 1960s. Okay, and the story that he told me, here in Denver, there's a school called, he went to West High School. It's right there a few miles away from downtown Denver. Okay, and he told me they all picked him up from school. All right, so there's no, how would I say it? There's no honor when it comes to America with the age, with kids. They don't care. They're just gonna pick you up. And my father told me that all his friends were picked up. I believe he was a senior when he was picked up. So he must have been 18, 19 years old. He said that they sent buses, and and that school was mostly all Spanish, and there were some blacks, but he said it was mostly all Spanish during that time in the early 1960s. And that's the kids that they like to pick up. They like to pick up the inner city kids. All right, those college boys, they're not going. All these multi-millionaires, billionaires, they don't send their kids to war. It's the inner city kids, are the kids out there in the farms and those rural part of America. They get picked up. The farmers, the kids out there in nowhere land, they pick up all them young men for the meat grinder, all right, because they're going to be slaughtered, all right. So, but my father told me they picked him up. Okay, this is early 1960s. I haven't talked to him for about a year. He lives on the other side of town. When I go by, I'll get the breakdown. But this is years ago when he told me about when he got picked up. And he said they loaded all the young men on the bus. And they took them, I believe it was 3rd and Broadway. Broadway is a street in the middle of the city of Denver. And there was some type of government city building on 3rd and Broadway. And he told me that they made them, he said there was drill sergeants, there was military presence there. And he said when they got off the bus, they made them all strip naked. They had to take all their clothes. He said right on the streets, right there in the middle of the city on Broadway, he said they made them take all their clothes off in a line. And then they entered the building. And he said that there were, weighing them, the height, everything, checking their whole body from head to toe. Okay, and the ones that were accepted, they shaved their heads and they were gone. He said that was the last he's seen of them. So he said within the last few days before he got picked, he didn't know he was getting picked up. Like I said, they did a sneak attack on these schools when they picked up these kids. He said he broke out in a rash in his back, and I guess it was on his legs. He said that something just came out, and that was through the Most High, because I probably wouldn't be here today. Okay, this is early 1960s, and he said this rash broke out, and they told him, they said, "What the hell? Like, what is this?" To my dad, they have had this before, and he said, "No." He said it's just all over his body, and one of the doctors there, he said, "No, you can't go." He said, "This looks like it's going to spread to everybody over here." He said, "Get your clothes and go take a walk." So my dad escaped it, and that had to be through Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, because I would have never been born. Okay, and he walked home. He said from there he walked home, and he was like, "I can't believe I escaped this." All his friends left, and he said most of them never came back. They were killed within months. A lot of those guys, right when they landed out there in Vietnam, they were just gone. All right, you went from the cities right to a jungle. All right. But they're going to have no mercy with this draft. They're going to be picking up people. They're going to be picking up these young men, and they're gone. Okay, and that's in the Apocrypha. It talks a lot about cities and towns with no men. All right, because they're going to draft all the way into their 40s and 50s. All right, they're going to take all men, and they're going to be taking your women, because your women want to be equals where you women are going to. Okay, so going back to, they have Iran is showing the whole world they control the Strait, they control the Middle East, and they're the ones that are fighting back against the most powerful military on the face of the earth. All right, and they're winning. So in the last 24 hours, Iran attacks 3 commercial vessels in the Strait of Hormuz on July 7, 2026. 3 ships in 24 hours. Okay, 3 ships in 24 hours. So like I said, the United States is trying to sneak ships out, and that ain't gonna happen. They have it on lockdown, and if you try to get jazzy with them, they'll shoot your ship down. I believe 2 of the ships were hit with missiles. 1 was hit with a drone. That's the latest news before I came out. Okay. So like I said, this war, and then that market manipulation, what's going on with the gas, because they're dropping gas prices. This is all by deceit. Okay, it's all by deceit right now, because the last week we're at the bottom of our reserves. But before the panic sets in, they're scrambling right now, trying to lower things before, because they're like I said, they're trying to sneak ships out there, but we're running low on oil, and then they have it on lockdown, so things are going to escalate real quick here. All right, and you're going to see prices just go through the roof, to the moon. Okay, bad times are coming in the next 6 months. The 6 months that we're in right now is going to blow the last few years out of the water. All right, we're entering some dark times here in America, and it's just going to get really bad, and that war is just going to escalate in the Persian Gulf, in the Middle East. This is just the beginning of sorrows. So let me get into going to get back into Isaiah. I want to finish it up. Yeah, well, the other day I was at Sam's Club, and there's a lady there. She always talks to me. She's an older lady. She's originally from New York, and she's been there for years. And she likes to talk to me about the Holy Book. We've been talking for years. And the other day, I haven't seen her for I don't know, about 6-8 months, but I seen her just a few days back, and she told me, she said, "Oh my God," she said, "all this stuff that's happening." She said, you know, what's going on? She said, there's just too much things going on. She said, this is a real bad time for America. I said, it's just going to get worse. I told her, I said, you need to get prepared, and then bunker down into your home. And I told her, I said, you need to read the Holy Book of Isaiah chapter 13. It tells you everything, that the time that we're living in. Okay? And she said, I'm going to read it. And she told her husband, because I guess a few years ago, he was telling her, you know, you worry too much. But now I guess he's on board now. The husband now can see that things ain't right in America. All right, people are like, this year 2026, people are they're worried. People are and not only worried, people are in panic mode of what's happening. So I'm going to read from Isaiah chapter 13, from 14. Well, I'm going to start with verse 10. Every star and every constellation will stop shining. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will give no light. And this is them nuclear exchange. It's going to happen in the second quarter, and then the third quarter is going to be the RFID chip, and then the fourth quarter is complete darkness of America being nuked to kingdom come. Because like right now in Colorado, we have a lot of fires going on. You have the Aspen fires. I think it's over 100,000 acres now, and I believe this morning they were saying 250 to over 300 homes. There's probably even more. There's certain areas they can't get into, but they're saying right now 250 to over 300 homes have been destroyed, over 100,000 acres. But it's the sky don't look like last night. Yesterday evening, the sun was bright orange. Okay, well, this is what's going to happen when those 3 to 6 cities get hit. the sky is never going to look the same. So many dust particles are going to go up into the air. But the last of the fourth quarter, when the United States and the Middle East gets hit, that's where it's going to be totally destroyed. The whole it's going to be this months of darkness. That's when the Lord Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls him Jesus or Jesus or Jehovah or Yahweh, and that's not the name. His name is Yahweh Shai. He has to reset everything, or we'll go into it. I'm on a video. Sorry about that, brothers and sisters. It'll turn into it'll just get like 30, 50 below zero. The whole ecosystem, everything would just be done. All right, that's how many missiles are going to hit the earth in the fourth quarter of World War III. Like I said, we don't know the time. We're in it right now. We're in World War III. All right. Like I said, the Western media, they're not going to tell you the truth, because there will be, Americans are so spoiled. There'll be a total panic. Within one day, all the grocery stores, every Sam's Club, every Costco, Target, Walmart, King Super, Safeway, it would be empty. It would be people would just totally be gone. All right. But every star in every constellation will stop shining. The sun will be dark when it rises, and the moon will give no light. And the Lord, verse 11, the Lord Yahweh says, I will bring disaster on the earth and punish all the wicked people for their sins. See, the whole world will be humbled, and they're going to pay for their sins. The only people that are not going to be punished are God's elect, the remnant, the little flock. We're exempt from punishment. If you're 100% with God, you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. God will be our fortress during these dark times. Okay? And the Lord says, I will bring disaster on the earth and punish all wicked people for their sins. I will humble everyone who is proud and punish everyone who is arrogant and cruel. These people here in America, they're proud, they're arrogant, and they're cruel. The men and the women. And I believe the women are more cruel than men. And the biggest perverts are women. Now, this is on a different level. All right? And they're real evil towards other women, especially if a woman obeys the law, statutes, and commandments. These women attack a righteous woman. All right? Women they're just plain evil. All right? Like 99.9%. Men are evil too. But women, they're very vindictive. All right? That's why in the whole book it talks about a woman, she's like a monster. If she's not happy in her marriage or with her life, she's like living with a scorpion. All right? I call these women, you ever watch that movie, The Thing? Right? They're like a sea creature come out of the Blue Lagoon. I mean, your life will be miserable if she is, because most of these women, they're not spiritual. They have no understanding of the Holy Book. Like I said, I'm not talking about you sisters that are in this truth. All right? Because if you're in this truth, God already humbled you. Okay? But these women, they're just filled with arrogance and pride, just like the men too. But women are on a different level. If you how would I say, burn them in the wrong way, a woman's memory, they never forget. Okay, if you did them wrong, or they think that you did them wrong, they're coming for you, these women. And I'm talking about men who've been in relationships with these women. All right, if you did them wrong, they might burn your car down, they might burn your home down, they might just take you out. All right, they'll poison you, they'll do. Women are very, very vindictive. But going back to a righteous woman, women, 99.9%, if they see a righteous woman, they're coming for you. They're throwing daggers right into you. They're vicious, and women are going to be humbled during this time. They're already being humbled because they're losing their jobs. But wait, when you see Wall Street, your Wall Street college boys jumping out of buildings in New York and Chicago, Detroit, Boston, and these women, they're gonna be in total confusion, because there's gonna be a time you're not gonna see the men of the Lord no more. That time is coming, and there's gonna be a time of great confusion. But God's bringing this judgment. It has to be done. I pray every day for the Most High to bring this judgment, and I'm glad that it's moving quickly with this war, with earthquakes, with tsunamis, with floods, with the heat, the hot, burning heat, the dry heat, the crops. There's no more fertilizers. I mean, we're in a bad predicament. What's coming to this country? People just don't know. We just had the July 4th, and people are out there with their fireworks. They have no money, but they're out there. They're almost destitute Americans. They're house poor, but they're out here buying $300 to $500, $1,000 of fireworks. They always like to party and drink, but like, I believe this is probably the last July 4th. Next year at this time, this country will be in a ground war with Iran, and probably with Russia. All right, because Russia, the last few days, they're talking about with satellites. They're saying that they're going to invade Poland, and that's on another video. So things are brewing, things are heating up on this earth. But God's going to bring the wrath down and punish the wicked people for their sins. I will humble everyone who is proud and punish everyone who is arrogant and cruel. Those who survive will be scarcer than gold. I will make the heavens tremble, and the earth will be shaken out of its place on the day when I, the Lord Almighty, shows my anger. You're going to see God's anger. And the people that were in Venezuela with that earthquake, they said they never seen or felt anything like this. So this is just the beginning. You're going to have earthquakes that are going to happen here in the United States. It's going to be past a 6, a 7, and an 8. We're talking past a 10 earthquakes that are going to rock this place. All right, there's a time even in the Holy Book where these missiles, so many missiles hit the earth, and the earth is shaken, that every building, every structure is going to come down. All the buildings in New York, Chicago, they're going to come right down. In San Francisco, in Denver, San Diego, Miami, they're going right to the ground before it's nuked to kingdom come. There's going to be shaking on this earth, great earthquakes. That these buildings, 50-story buildings, 70-story buildings, are going to come right to the ground. Not only here in America, around the world, there's going to be a great shaking on this earth. He said, who is proud and punish everyone who is arrogant and cruel. Those who survive will be scarcer than gold. I will make the heavens tremble, and the earth will be shaken out of its place. And on that day when I, the Lord Almighty, Yahweh, shows my anger, the foreigners living in Babylon will run away to their homelands. And that's happening right now. You have a lot of people from China, from the Philippines, What else is there? Korea, South Korea, Koreans, people from India, people from all over the world. Their businesses are closing down. All right, they're not making that good money no more. They're going to shut down and they're going to go back to their homelands. So that's already happening. And you even having Mexicans and people from Central America self-deporting themselves. They're just leaving. They're tired of looking over their back and they're just going home. Verse 14, the foreigners living in Babylon will run away to their homelands, scattering like deer escaping from hunters, like sheep without a shepherd. Anyone who is caught will be stabbed to death, and that's going to be martial law. And there was a lot of stuff. I think it was in Newport Beach in California. It's like anarchy over there in Los Angeles. You have a few cities that you don't want to be in. All these cities are garbage, but you have Los Angeles, Chicago, and I say New York City. All right, you could probably throw in Detroit in there, and Oakland too. That is like it's already like the Hunger Games. It's already what was that movie with Mel Gibson? What was that? The movie with Mel Gibson, like about like the end of the world in the 1970s. Mad Max. Always my train of thought on that movie. That movie always. Mad Max. These cities are already turning into Mad Max. Go on YouTube and you'll see all the chaos that was happening in Los Angeles County. I believe they said they arrested over 400 or 500 people. They were breaking into stores, windows, people just beat down on the streets, men and women. It's already, like I said, when the sun goes down, you should be in the house. Don't be driving around. All right, this is the time to be at home, be in prayer every day before you leave that house. Be in prayer. Be in prayer when you're driving. Be in prayer. Pray over your children in the ancient Hebrew name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, because we're living in some evil, evil times. And wait, when there's no gas at the gas stations, you're going to see what happens. And that's coming. And he says, anyone who is caught will be stabbed to death. While they look on helplessly, their babies will be battered to death. Their houses will be looted, and their wives will be raped. That's in the holy book. That's in the holy book of Isaiah chapter 13, verse 14 and 15 and 16. Okay, let's read what the holy book says right here. I've been writing down some stuff here where Yahweh will stir up the Medes and the Persians to attack Babylon. That goes on. That's on the next chapter. But where I want to get to, where he says the wicked will suffer a fate similar to Sodom and Gomorrah. What was Sodom and Gomorrah? These were people that were trying to rape the angels with Abraham and Lot. That just shows you the land is filled with perverts, sickos, men and women. They're all perverts, 99% of them. All right, now I have to throw the women. Women are not innocent. All right, they're probably some of the biggest perverts. Even with that Epstein, he had women that he had women pick up other young girls for him. All right, women they're on the same level, or even on a higher level than a man when it comes to wickedness. Okay, and we're living in the times of Noah and the times of Sodom and Gomorrah. As a matter of fact, it's in the holy book that America is worse than Sodom and Gomorrah. Okay, so when he says right here, he says anyone who is caught will be stabbed to death. That's going to be that martial law. When the gas stations, before they bring in martial law, it's when society collapses, and that's one of the things that's going to happen is no gasoline. When people can't fill up their gas, can't fill up their cars, they're going to panic. Every grocery store is going to be ransacked. All right, and whoever's caught up in there, people will be beaten to death, and it says right here they'll be stabbed to death. And that's a great verse right there, because like I told you, during this time when they do call out martial law, they're going to send a lot of decoys in all these cities of these futuristic robots. But the first ones that they're going to send out really ain't going to do nothing. People are just going to look at it and freak out, and they're going to start shooting at them. Okay, they're going to be sending a lot of these drones around. People are going to be shooting. They're going to waste all their ammo. Like I said, they're the most cunning. They know how to get you dummies. So when it says that people will be stabbed to death, because when people run out of ammo, they're going to stick you with screwdrivers, homemade weapons, which are, most of them are, they're going to be like swords, and people are going to go in their kitchens to get their knives, and it's going to get ugly out here. All right, especially here in America, because they're spoiled, rotten to the core. He said they'll be stabbed to death while they look on helplessly, and that's what's going to happen, because there ain't going to be no cops. As a matter of fact, during that time, and I'm going what the Holy Book says. Like I said, I have to tiptoe what I say over here, because they're trying to pick me up over here. All right, but everything that comes out of my mouth is I tie everything with the Holy Book. This is what God says. Okay. I'll never tell anybody to go out there and do anything to bring harm to anybody. If anything, I tell people to mind their own business and stay in your home. And you have every right to defend yourself. But don't go out there at grocery stores. And when these riots happen, stay the hell out of these places. Don't participate in these people with protesting, and don't be involved when chaos erupts. Stay home and read your holy book. But like I said, you have every right to defend your home and defend your children. If you're at home, you're more likely you're going to survive. The people out there in the streets, they're going to be killed. Okay? But during that time, a lot of cops will be hunted during this time. Cops will leave their post during this time. They're going to say, the hell with this. That happened in New Orleans with that hurricane. Cops left their post, and they were saying people were being raped, men and women and children. But remember that was just in New Orleans. This is going to be across the United States. It's going to be across the United States. So when it says right here, he says, while they look on helplessly, their babies will be battered to death. That's going to happen. People are going to be in such rage, they're going to just kill the whole family. They're going to have no mercy on your families. That's why you're best to stay in your home and defend yourself. Stay in your home and mind your business. But people that are caught up in the streets, they're going to be beaten to death, and they're going to watch their children be beaten to death. Right? Because you're going to have to tie everything together. We're going to be in a full-out world war. There's going to be famine. There's going to be people just losing their minds when the Wall Street collapses. They're going to have no money in the bank. I mean, people are going to totally lose their minds during this time, and they're going to be filled with rage. He says, while they look on helplessly, their babies will be battered to death. Their houses will be looted, because people are going to be in. They're going to be in groups. There's going to be groups of gangs, and they're going to go house to house to look for food, look for weapons, look for anything, ammo, look for anything. Okay, and people that don't have nothing to defend themselves, they're done. Okay, and their wife, and that's what it says, is their houses will be looted and their wives will be raped. That's in the Holy Book. I didn't make this up. Verse 17. And the Lord says, I am stirring up the Medes, the Persians, to attack Babylon. So when you see that scripture in verse 17, it's also talking about Russia. The Russians are going to be right there. All right? They're going to have their special forces. Once we engage in that ground war, you're going to have the Czechs, a lot of the Russian Empire and the countries around Russia. They're going to join forces with Russia, and they're going to go to Iran to fight the battle, that war. All right, and you're gonna have North Koreans. They have those Chechens fighters. They're gonna go join forces with the Russians. That's all in that region of Russia. Okay. They're gonna be one great force. And that's what he says right here. The Most High Yahweh, I am stirring up the Medes to attack Babylon. They care nothing for silver and are not tempted by gold. Now, with that, the funeral that just happened over the weekend, it's still happening. I think it ends on Thursday. 15 to 20 million. It shows you the power of the people and how they're they're becoming one. And they said they have millions of men signing up for the war to fight the U.S., to fight your Marines and your Army. Right? This is an ancient nation. Right? One of the greatest on the earth was the Persian Empire. And they want revenge against the Greeks, the Greco-Romans, all right? Because it was Alexander the Great that conquered them. Persia conquered Babylon, and then a couple hundred years, 200 to 300 years, that's when Alexander the Great, the Greek Empire, conquered Persia. Okay, but this time it's the revenge to conquer the Greeks, the Romans, the Anglo-Saxons, America, and the Zionists. All right, because Most High is putting the spirit on these Persians, these Iranians. And the Lord says, I am stirring up the Medes to attack Babylon. They care nothing for silver and are not tempted by gold. They're not going to want your gold or silver. Their pleasure is going to be slaughtering your sons and your daughters. He says, with their bows and arrows, they will kill the young men. They will show no mercy to babies and take no pity on children. And what does a mother say when she has her sons? All right. So when they bring out that draft, mothers will be holding on to their sons. And what does a mother say? There's a lot of people walking through about their sons. When they have their sons, when they're like 2, 3, 4 years old, they said, my baby, even when he turns 15, when he turns 18, the mother always said, he's my baby. Doesn't matter if he's 30 or 40, the mother will always say, he's my baby. So when it says right here, they will show no mercy to babies and take no pity on children. This is talking about your Army, your Rangers, your Marines, your Air Force, your Navy. They're gonna have no mercy. Like I said, they could, Iran could get 12 to 15 men, 15 million men to fight this war. And then you add Russia, another 20, 30 million men. All right, this is, like I said, this is the last war. They will show no mercy to your babies, take no pity on children. Babylonian is the most beautiful kingdom of all. And he says, it is the pride of its people. But I, the Lord Yahweh, will overthrow Babylon as I did Sodom and Gomorrah. No one will ever live there again. And right here I have the fall and the desolation of Babylon. This all ties in together with Isaiah chapter 13, verse 14 through 22. The fall and desolation of Babylon the Great. God will stir up the Medes and the Persians to attack Babylon. He's stirring them up. The Almighty God Yahweh. He's stirring up these men. The ancient Persians and the Russians to destroy the West. He said they will stir up the Medes, the Persians, the Russians to attack Babylon. And the Iranians and the Russians are described as merciless warriors who will not accept bribes of gold or silver, and the wicked city will suffer a fate similar to Sodom and Gomorrah, becoming completely uninhabited and desolate. That's that final fourth quarter. Nothing's going to be left here. Nothing. It's going to be a hot springs. It says the imagery of the global cataclysm is a momentous, violent event that causes sweeping destruction, massive change. Cataclysm, or a sudden, profound upheaval. It typically describes large-scale natural disasters like a massive floods or earthquake, or an immense society disruptions like wars that permanently alter the status quo. All right, this is all going to happen before America. The floods, the famine, the riots, the chaos, the economic collapse, and then the sudden purge of fire of this nation. Literal a violent sudden change in the physical rule of the Earth's crust. That's those missiles hitting the Earth, shaking the world, the shaking of the Earth. Historical, a massive political or cultural upheaval that brings a completely new era or a new world order. The roots, the term originates from the Greek ancient word cataclysmos, which translates directly to deluge or the great flood. All right, but instead of a flood, it's going to be a purge of fire. All right, it also breaks down as a natural destructive volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, an asteroid impact, a catastrophic flooding, society collapse, an empire, the outbreak of a world war, or a sudden economic depression. Catastrophic, disaster, upheaval, calamity. You get the picture. All right, all this is happening to the United States. All these people that are really having a good time walking around, running, these are people that are not prepared. All right? These people will be eaten during these times. And like I said, America is going to get worse than anywhere else. Before I leave, where he says right here, but I, the Lord, will overthrow Babylon as I did Sodom and Gomorrah. No one will ever live there again. You see, this chapter 13 is talking about America. It's not talking about Babylon in Iraq today. There's people that are, millions of people living in Iraq and Iran, the Middle East, millions of people. They're all over the place over there. It's talking about America. He says, no wandering Arab will ever pitch his tent there. And was talking about the Arabs, because those are the rich. The people of Saudi Arabia, they send their kids to America, to the Ivy League schools. All right, Saudi Arabia, those people they're millionaires, billionaires, and trillionaires. All right, only the rich Arabs. The other Middle Eastern people, like if you see people from Lebanon, Palestine, those are Arabs that live in those lands. You have Iraq, Qatar, all those are a mix of, like the Persians. They're not Arabs. They're not of. Their forefather wasn't Abraham's son Ishmael. All right. There's different races of people down there in the Middle East, but they all worship, and they're in that under Islam, the Middle East. But when it talks about that wandering Arab will never pitch his tent there, those people, they're going to head back home. They're going to see the destruction that's coming to America. So they're going to get their kids, and a lot of them have homes. They have homes here in Colorado, New York, these multi-billionaires, but they're going to try to sell their property and go back home before America gets nuked to kingdom come. But they'll never come back to this land again. The people of the Middle East, people from all over the world, India, all over Latin America, they're all going to go head home, and the ones that are caught up here, they're going to die in nuclear fire, and that's it for them. No wandering Arab will ever pitch his tent there, and no shepherd will ever pasture his flock there. It will be a place where desert animals live and where owls build their nests. Ostriches will live there, and wild goats will prance through the ruins. The towers and the palaces will echo with cries of hyenas and jackals. Babylon's time has come. Her days are almost over. Her time is approaching. The end of days for this place. We're at the end days. All right, the writing is on the wall for America. All right, and you can see that in the movie The Planet of the Apes, where they tell Charles Heston, you don't want to go there. That's called the Forbidden Land. The Forbidden Land. And then when he rides the horse with that girl, and they kept on going, he said, you're not going to like what you see. And he sees the Statue of Liberty destroyed. That America was destroyed. And then he jumps off his horse, and he's hitting the ground. And he said, they did it. They finally, then he finally realized that he went into the future. He went through a portal. That's one of the great movies of all time, is Planet of the Apes, the original. I think it's 1966. Excuse me. Hope all you brothers and sisters were edified with this lesson. And keep on fighting the good fight. Don't let Satan take your dignity. Keep on fighting the good fight. All praises to the Most High God forever and ever. We're almost out of here, and get your seatbelt on, because it's going to get wild. All right, keep on fighting the good fight. Never quit. You're going to make it to the finish line. Never quit. Never give up. Thank you for watching.